2, 1.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's PitchForce. It's all focused on cannabis, excuse me. And the reason I said Canada is one of our presenters is from Canada, and we've got 7 other presenters from throughout the United States, in Georgia, in Massachusetts, in Northern California, in Southern California, and we're glad that they're here. We're glad that you're here. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going to happen this afternoon. Each of the 8 companies will do an 8-minute elevator pitch, which will be followed immediately by a vote from our 5 panelists on a scale of 1 to 5, how much they like the company, how much they like the pitch, sort of a combined score. Adrian, who you see here, who keeps track of everything and makes the trains run on time with PitchForce and helps these companies get prepped and finds them. She'll keep track of the score. And then the top 5 vote getters will move to the second round. The second round, we've got a 4-minute PowerPoint, 4 minutes of Q&A, and then about 8 minutes of non-rebuttal feedback. If you make it to the final, companies, entrepreneurs, CEOs, if you make it to the finals, we're going to ask you to mute yourself, something that never happens on Zoom because, it's usually the other way around. We think we're talking with the mic open, but it isn't. But this is going to be reversed because you can't say anything during the feedback. You're just going to listen. You can take notes if you'd like, but it's not necessary because this is being recorded. And you'll get a link tomorrow to the recordings, and you'll be able to hear the feedback from our exceptional panel. And that's really where the value is for all of you who are thinking about pitching in the future, looking at investing, just interested in the cannabis space. You're going to hear some great questions, and more importantly, some very cryptic, critical, direct, honest, and at the same time, kind feedback from our panelists. We'll meet them in a minute, but before we do, I'd like to introduce myself and what I do in my 60-hour work week. That's right, 60 hours, but not 1 hour of it feels like work. It's fun because I'm working with early stage, high-tech startups, both in the non-cannabis space and in cannabis, helping them build great teams. Our company, People Connect, is now in its 21st year of helping early stage startups build great teams. And I say we're the most unique recruiting firm in the world, which is a hell of a statement. And the way I can back that up is twofold. Number one, to the best of my knowledge, we are the only recruiting company that will find people who will work without a paycheck for 3 months until the company gets its funding. So companies that are looking for their A round or their seed round say, as soon as we get that money, we need to bring in a VP of product, or I need a chief technology officer. We need a marketing person, sales, biz dev, finance, and we need that money to hire those people. Well, the answer is you don't. If you're close, we'll find people for you who have domain expertise and are risk takers and will work for options only for 3 months until the company closes its round. Again, and the other thing that makes us really unique is that we fill any position for any type of company anywhere in the United States. So it doesn't matter what level, where you want a VP or an individual contributor, whatever the industry is. It can be cannabis, it can be prop tech, it can be, you name it, medical devices, apps. We fill positions like that. We're a boutique firm based in San Francisco, but with people working throughout the country. So that's a little bit about People Connect. PitchForce happens every Thursday afternoon, sometimes twice a week, usually once a week. And we've got a gathering like this every 5th week, cannabis focused. The other 4 weeks, we're alternating between companies looking for their seed round, who are pitching to angel investors, companies looking for their A round, who are pitching to VCs. It's a great opportunity for companies to get the ball rolling on the fundraising side, and then we help companies not only with their fundraising, but we help them grow great teams. Getting back to People Connect, in another life, when I was much younger, I was a chief scout for the San Diego Rockets in the NBA. And what I was doing there was looking at college basketball players and evaluating how well I thought they would do in the NBA. My team and I at People Connect do a similar type thing, except it's not basketball related. We're trying to find great people who are head and shoulders above everybody else to help early stage startups build great teams. And we say you can't build a great company without great people. That's what we focus on. So if there's any way we can help you, please let me know. What we're going to do now is ask each of the panelists, there are 5 wonderful people here, ask them to tell you a little bit about themselves, their background, and what's important to them in the cannabis investment. And we're going to start with a gentleman I've had the pleasure of knowing and calling a friend for about 20 years, Eph Lindenbaum, who is very active both in the cannabis space as well as non-cannabis space. Welcome, Eph.
Thank you so much, Max. It's great to be here. Always happy to do Cannabis PitchForce and Series A as well. Great panel. Excited to be back with some of you folks, meet the new folks as well. So my background is actually as an entrepreneur, and I like to say I'm a recovering entrepreneur. I started and grew a company. So I sat on the other side of the table with companies that'll be pitching today. I grew a company in Silicon Valley, exited in the first .com boom, and after exiting, it's somewhat binary here in Silicon Valley. You either start your next company or become an investor. And I like to say I didn't have any great ideas, but really I found a great team to connect with. We spun up Advanced Ventures in 1999. I've been investing ever since, invested through 3 successive funds now. One of our core tenets, as a fund has been to invest across technology, health, and wellness. Certainly the food and agriculture space has been a big part of our investing for 20 years. We started looking cannabis in the 2010 cycle. It was still pretty early for us, finally got involved in the 2015, 2016 cycle. I'm on the board of companies like Front Range Biosciences, Pathogen DX, and Willow Industries, work with Max constantly. So love to have him on board, bringing in executives across our entire food chain.
Thanks, Eph. Thanks for being here. We're pleased to welcome back Jen Pirro, who is a prolific cannabis investor, has got a great background, and I love what Jen's doing in terms of being fluid during the pandemic and staying in wonderful places like New Orleans and Sedona and Santa Fe, New Mexico. Well, welcome, Jen. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved in cannabis, please.
Hi, everybody. Jen Pirro, super great to be here. Active cannabis investor, angel investor in the space. I've been doing it for about 5 years. I'm also investing in psychedelics as well, so trying to be kind of leading edge here for the next new big things. I'm a former management consultant who kind of fell into cannabis starting as a patient, and then got really active in the space because I want this to be a frontline treatment and not the 10th or 15th thing people try when they're at the end of their rope. So I'm definitely looking for cannabis companies who make the entry to cannabis easy. I love products that I can hand to my friends, my family, my mom, that don't really freak them out. So things that are flower and pre-rolls are great, but I love products that are infused and that are just a little bit more of like the baby steps into cannabis. So really happy to be here and can't wait to see the companies. Thanks.
Thanks, Jen. I'd next like to welcome in Nick Easley. Nick has been a panelist with us for well over half a year. He's a brilliant guy, hardworking. It's hard to believe he does as much as he accomplishes, and you're going to enjoy what he has to say. Nick, tell us a little bit about your background and how you were first attracted to cannabis, and about your military service as well, please.
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, thanks for the time, Max, and introductions. Always fun to be on this bigger panel. Yeah, still growing out the hairs, changing life a little bit, and wishing everybody well during Rona. Yeah, Nick Easley, Managing Director of Multiverse Capital, also CEO of 3C Consulting. Been in the cannabis industry legal side for almost 15 years. That's a decade and a half. So after getting out of the military, I was a Romance language cryptolinguist, got hurt, came to Colorado, and really got to see our medical patient industry go to the first commercial medical cannabis programs. And from that, we've started working in Colorado, now over 35 states. From medical, recreational side and international, done in almost 20 different countries of license applications and development. So lots of different special purpose vehicles, fund investments, and seen well over $1 billion of transactions happen in the space. And the last, let's just say 3 weeks have been some of the busiest of this last decade when it comes to like 4 states coming with legal recreational cannabis in the United States. It's just been massive. International's a little slower, big long term, but have worked with everything from cultivators, manufacturers, own parts of probably about 100 different cannabis companies here in the US currently. So really excited to share with these new startups here today.
Great, thanks. Thanks for being here. Really happy to welcome for the first time as a panelist, Andrea Brooks. A couple of weeks ago, she did a fireside chat with us, and Andrea's, I first met her when we were doing PitchForces live and in person, and she pitched Saba Brands and won the event. She's growing a business, tremendous growth, and she's also a cannabis investor. So Andrea, tell us a little bit about your background and what's going on and why you're here today.
Yeah, sure. So entrepreneur, started Saba, which is an e-commerce and delivery platform serving the Bay Area. And I've started making some angel investments in the space as well. In terms of what I look for, I came to cannabis out of medical need. So I'm really interested in looking at companies that sit at the intersection of purpose and profit that really want to make this world a better place through cannabis. So I look at really strongly mission-driven, story-driven companies. And I've moved more into doing pitch coaching because it was really helpful for me when I started entering the space. So happy to be here.
Yeah, and we're really glad you're here because you've got recent experience in raising money, and that's important because that's what everybody's doing here. Last but far from least, gentleman who I've had the pleasure of knowing for about 3-4 years. Wonderful guy with a very smart guy who cares about people and cares about diversity and especially in the cannabis space. Welcome, Ross Uchimura, please.
Thank you so much, Max. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you so much for having me back again. I just can't believe it every time you call me to say come back.
Yeah.
So thank you. We have a small family office that we invest in addition to cannabis, education, real estate, and fintech. We've had good results with 2 later stage venture capital funds that we've invested in and 1 early stage fund. In terms of cannabis, we do look mostly at angel investing. We have invested into 3 farms, 2 dispensaries, and 2 other companies. One of which is just getting listed on OTCQB. So, like People Connect, we believe that great people make great companies, and we always look at the management team, obviously, the exit strategy. And also we have a special eye toward women and minority-owned businesses and LGBTQ. So that's it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Great panel. You'll see what I mean at the end of the afternoon because there's going to be a lot of words of wisdom from these people. So okay, we're going to go get started. And our first company for the 1-minute pitch is Cream of the Crop. Yvette is in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and we welcome Yvette with Cream of the Crop. Yvette, you are muted and we are ready whenever you are. You need to unmute, please. It looks like the muted button is on.
Usually the tech companies that have the problems with the mute buttons.
I know Yvette was having a few problems earlier. Yvette, I'll tell you what, we're while you're working that out. We are going to try Allison with Floor Me. Let's bring Allison in. And Allison is muted also. Now you're not.
Hello,
muted.
I'm here.
All right, good. Please begin when you're ready.
My name is Allison Trick, and I'm a serial entrepreneur with 2 previous exits. My husband is a former NFL player, and I'm a former dancer, and collectively we have a ton of injuries. We use CBD to manage pain on a daily basis. I travel 2 times a year, or at least I did, to the gift shows, and I was not seeing CBD represented there. So I decided to launch Floor Me in 2019. Since then, in that industry, we've grown an average of 20% each month, which I'm happy about during the pandemic. And I've invested 100,000. I've raised 200,000, and I'm looking for an additional 500,000 to address the $7 billion gift market. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to vote on the count of 3. 5 is high, 1 is low. If you've got cards, use them, or digital or fingers. Anything works. 1, 2, 3.
All right. I have 3 3s
and 2 2s, and that's a 13.
Okay,
Lucky 13. Thanks, everyone.
13. Thank you. All right,
All
let's see if Yvette's got her sound working now. So muted.
Hello.
Now you're good. All right.
Yeah, we're all good. We're all good, everybody. Hi,
Okay.
my name is Yvette Webb, and I'm the co-founder of Cream of the Crop Therapeutics. We enhance the lives of others by using cannabinoids and their compounds in research formula. One day when I was working on our topical products, I came across a body of evidence referencing the antiviral effects of different plant compounds. Some of the information was so compelling that we filed our own patents and developed our own formulas for nasally administered plant-based antiviral therapies. Now, this allows you to target, treat directly to the nasal passages, and we're able to help give the immune system a lift. So our base formula allows the addition of CBD and other pharmaceutical agents. We deliver this with a nasal vaporizer or a nasal atomizer. And we really can see our positioning our products in the numerous places. One is as a companion to face mask wearing. This is another sanitizing step, and it also can tag along with the billion-dollar mask market, as well as the therapy that's available for people.
Your minute is up. It's unfortunate that both the first two presenters did not tell us how much money they were raising, which we asked everybody to cover. But
Yeah.
we will we'll have to take the vote now. 1, 2,
Wow.
3.
It flies.
All right, I have a 4 and 2 3s, and a 2 and a 1, and that is also a 13.
Oh, real huge range on that. All right, thank you. Next up, we're going to welcome from Massachusetts, Chuck Siegel with Flower Power. You're muted, Chuck, so just unmute and begin when you're ready, please.
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Perfect. Thanks, Max. Flower Power has two distinct revenue streams. The first is our brand, Flower Power Coffee, and the second is our food tech business. First, let me tell you about our brand. Our coffee is the best tasting, only accurately dosed CBD coffee on the market. We tested our competitors and identified two major problems. Most contain little or no CBD in the brewed cup, and most tasted terrible. Based on this, we developed a patent pending process that allows us to accurately dose CBD and other cannabinoids, terpenes, and THC via a K-cup. We have contracts in place with high volume production partners on both East and West Coasts, ready to scale in order to supply the mass market. As much as we love our coffee, we're even more excited about our food tech business. We create custom formulated, water-soluble emulsions and powders that enable other brands to add infused offerings to their product portfolios. We're working with some of the largest beverage companies in the United States and have developed products for a coffee shop chain with 13,000 locations worldwide. We have multiple scenarios for a successful exit and are seeking a $2 million investment. Lastly, we'd like to offer samples of all of our products to everyone on the call tonight. Thank you, and we look forward to taking your questions.
Thanks, Chuck. All right. You guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3. Wow, we got a 5.
All right, I have a 5 and 2 4s and 2
I almost
3s.
did a 5. I might go 5. If it's leaning over an edge, Chuck will get a 5 out of F, which is a rarity, as Max will tell you.
Okay,
never
so,
see it again.
Appreciate it.
So currently we are at 19.
19. All right.
All right, kick it up to a 5, Adrian.
Okay, we're at 20 then.
There you go.
Thanks,
Let's
Beth.
round
Appreciate
Chuck
it.
out.
And Chuck, thank you for covering all of our points in the minute. It is possible.
That's
Okay.
why he got a 5, Max. He read the email.
Yeah, exactly. And practice. All right. Next up, let's welcome Heather with Heather's Hemp Alternatives from Arcata. Welcome in, Heather.
Okay. Hello, my name is Heather Rubiales, and I am the founder of Heather's Hemp Alternatives. Plastic pollution is one of the biggest environmental threats that our planet is facing today. It has been estimated that over 8 million tons of plastic pollution is entering our oceans every day, with 50% of that being made up of single-use plastics. Unfortunately, the legal cannabis and hemp industry have become a huge contributor to the plastic pollution problem. As the industry booms and new regulations are set forth that states each individual product sold must be in a child reusable container, we are beginning to see massive amounts of plastic waste unfold. Heather's Hemp Alternatives is creating child-resistant, backyard compostable hemp bioplastic that is child-resistant container. Sorry, I just messed up there. But we're looking for $1 million at a 2.5 pre-money valuation, and we are the solution to plastic pollution. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. All right. You guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have 2 4s and 3 3s. And oops, yeah. And that puts us at 17.
17. Nice job. All right. Next up, our second entrepreneur from Massachusetts, Matt Allen with Craft Cultivation. Welcome, Matt.
Great. Hi, folks.
Hi, Matt. We're ready when you are.
Thank you. My name is Matt Allen. I'm CEO of MA Craft Cultivation. My background is in advocating for social justice and civil rights. I led the medical cannabis campaign in Massachusetts in 2012. And I recently founded a cannabis cultivation company that reflects these same values. We're growing cannabis on an outdoor farm in Massachusetts using craft, organic, and sustainable farming methods. And we'll be contributing to equity in the industry by wholesaling cannabis to companies that are led by people of color, LGBTQ folks, and women. Our director of cultivation has helped found or start up several successful cultivation companies around the country. In Massachusetts last year, there was $700 million in sales for adult use cannabis, and that's only expected to grow. We plan to achieve an exit in 3 to 5 years with a 5x to 10x return. We've got a turnkey operation that's ready to put seeds in the ground next month, and we're raising $400,000 for operational costs through convertible notes.
Thank you, Matt. Okay. You guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3.
I have 1 4 and 3 3s and a 2. And that puts us at 15.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. Next up is James Shee from San Diego with My Green Network. Welcome, James.
All right, give me a second here. Calming it down, so thank you. All right. Okay. Imagine owning your own licensed cannabis business at 10% the cost, time, and effort. Welcome to My Green Network. My name is James Shee. I'm the CEO and founder of America's first cannabis cloud kitchens. Now, what we really do is disrupt the traditional notion that getting into the industry is expensive and a legal nightmare. We spent 7 years with 3 attorneys identifying the barriers to entry and then creating the solution, a membership-based platform for cannabis manufacturers, opening up opportunities for diversity ownership and small business. What we love about our business is we're collaborative by design. That means that when our members are successful, they're making more products, making more money, renting more of our days, and using more of our services. We'll be cash flow positive upon opening with a completely pre-sold membership. To date, we've raised over $1 million. We're seeking $500,000 more to open our facility and then finalize our opening for a $20 million raise. So start smart. Go green the way you want. We do the rest.
Thanks, James. Okay, you guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3. We got 4, we got 4, we got 4.
I got 3 4s and 2 2s, and that's 16.
16. All right. Nice score. Next up, we're going to welcome Kina with Pot and Pans, my favorite name of the 8 companies, Pot and Pans. What a clever name, Kina. Welcome.
Thank you, Max. Hi, everybody. Happy belated 420.
Thank you. We're ready when you are, Kina.
All right. So, okay. So if Mary Poppins and the current edibles market has taught us anything, it's that sugar makes the medicine go down. Now imagine what a spoonful of lobster bisque could do. Hi, my name is Keena Moffitt. I am the founder of Pot and Pans, a cannabis meal kit delivery company making cannabis cooking easy, convenient, and affordable for the home cook. We're direct to consumer and subscription based. I am a recovering accountant and currently a cannabis chef, and I have an amazing team with over 50 years of combined experience. Our current traction as we get ready to enter this $4.2 billion market is that we have filed for our trademark protections, registered as a Delaware corporation, and conducted our own market research. Our exit targets are large MSOs who are processors and dispensaries, and our current ask is a $2 million seed on a safe with a $10 million cap to build and scale this business, and we really hope that you'll join us in making medicating delicious.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, you guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have 2 4s and 3 3s, and that is a 17.
Nice score. All right, we've got one last presenter from Los Angeles, Josh Otten with Social Club TV. Welcome, Josh. You're muted, Josh. We're ready when you are.
Unmute.
Now you're good. Now you're good.
Thank you. Ronin Content has created the largest OTT network focused on cannabis and psychedelic content. We have over 600 hours of premium content and are available in 150 million homes. We work with cannabis, psychedelic, and mainstream brands. And with the legalization of cannabis and psychedelics, marketing and advertising will boom as brands need to move beyond commoditization and actually create real brands. We are post-revenue and pre-funding and have bootstrapped our entire platform with over $1 million in trailing revenue. Our audience has grown over 200% since our last pitch, and we've generated $200,000 in revenue in the last quarter alone. We have partnerships with the Emerald Cup Awards and Psych 2021, and we are seeking $2 million in funding to start to scale and do more marketing.
Thank you. Okay, you guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have 3 4s, a 3, and a 2, and that puts us at 17.
Okay. All right, Adrian, if you would read all the scores off, we will determine who the top 5 vote getters are.
Sounds good. So we have Cream of the Crop with 13, Floramy with 13, Flower Power 20, Heather's Hemp Alternative 17, MA Craft Cultivation 15, My Green Network 16, Pot and Pan 17, and Social Club TV 17.
Okay, so we've got 5 companies. In fact, the winner of the first round with 20 is Chuck Siegel with Flower Power. And then we're going to go next to Heather with Heather's Hemp Alternatives. And then James with My Green Network. They've got 16. Keena with Pot and Pan 17. And Josh with Social Club TV 17. Very good scores. Thanks to all the entrepreneurs and those of you who are observing today. You know, you could see the difference in the companies that really prepared and brought it with their energy, and great job for those of you guys that made it. Okay, so we're now switching to round 2, and we're going to welcome back Chuck Siegel with Flower Power. He will do a 4-minute elevator pitch. There'll be about 4 minutes of Q&A. Not every panelist will get to ask a question, but when we switch to feedback, every panelist will give feedback. And Chuck, if you want to share your screen and unmute yourself, we'll get ready to go. We're not hearing you, Chuck, even though your mute's off.
Sorry, that's my fault. My bad. This is the 4-minute presentation, or is this Q&A? I'm sorry.
The 4-minute presentation. So you want to bring your deck up, please.
Wonderful.
Okay.
How's that?
We're good. Looks good.
Great.
Okay, please begin.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate it. We are Flower Power Coffee. And if I can change the screen, that would be helpful. Coffee is the most popular beverage in the world. It's the most common beverage consumed in the United States, with 64% of people drinking it within the past day. CBD-infused beverages are expected to be the largest segment of the entire CBD market. We produce the very best tasting, most flavorful, accurately dosed CBD coffee in the market. We offer ultra premium coffee We blend that with 25 milligrams of high quality pharmaceutical CBD to the cup, actual tests to the cup. We have an innovative K-cup design that provides an accurate dose as well as offers superior flavor of coffee to the brewed cup. We're coming to market in early May with a light, medium, and dark roast, with each cup having 25 milligrams of CBD to the brewed cup. One important thing to note is that in comparison to a lot of competitors, we have a lot more coffee in our pod. That means a lot more brewed flavor and CBD in your cup. We back all of our products with 100% satisfaction money back guarantee. We have a revolutionary K-cup made out of revolutionary materials and a unique and proprietary patent pending formulation that allows for accurate CBD delivery, as well as all the flavor to flow directly into the cup. If you look at the diagram on the left, a traditional K-cup is stained after being pushed into cranberry juice, where ours is not. That allows all the flavor of the coffee and CBD to flow directly into the cup. This is a slide I want to spend a minute on. In a competitive landscape, we look out at all of our competitors, and most are relatively amateurish. From a coffee standpoint, we have more coffee in our pods than everyone else. We have a full 13 grams in comparison to 10 grams on the lower end. And more importantly, and most importantly, we fulfill our promise and deliver 25 milligrams to the brewed cup. Out of all of the competitors in the marketplace, no one actually delivers what they say they'll do on their package or on their label, and very few actually deliver the promised amount. If you like the front end of our business, which is our brand, we have several other pillars and revenue streams. In addition to our product sales, we have our private label sales, which we private label for others. We have consulting services where we consult with very large multinational companies that then pull through product sales, and both of them offer substantial worldwide licensing and royalty opportunity. Our team is myself. One of the founders is Dr. Craig Leviant. He's a doctor of pharmacology and botany, and he acts as our chief science officer. Terry Bouvier is also a founder and is our vice president of sales operations. And Evan Sachs is our chief strategy officer, overseeing all digital and e-com operations. In 2021, we expect to do 405,000. We expect to ramp up to well over 53 million, dropping 17 million to the bottom line in 2025. Why invest in Flower Power? The power of Flower Power. We have a guaranteed accurate dose of CBD to the cup, unlike any other coffee company today. We have a patent pending proprietary formulation, processes, and products. We have an established supply chain in place without any inventory costs ready to scale, which is very important. We have enormous opportunity for ongoing revenue potential through worldwide licensing, commissions, and royalties. We have strategic partnerships with the largest East Coast coffee roaster, with state-of-the-art roasting and packaging facilities, with capabilities of producing 50,000 K-cups per hour. We have a broker-dealer relationship for an existing coffee brand. And we're also working with one of the largest coffee houses in the world, with 13,000 locations worldwide. We're seeking $2 million on a pre-money valuation of
You're out of time. Your 4 minutes are up. Thank you. We're going to switch to questions. I've got the first question. You had your team slide up, but you really didn't talk about yourself in any depth. Tell us who you are, what you've done, how much of your own cash you've got in the deal, please.
Sure. My name is Chuck Siegel. I've been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I've been involved in a number of startups with a number of successful exits in the early 2000s. I exited the space for a number of years to kind of get away from the red tape of business. I really missed making things, came back into the space in 2014, developed a LED lighting company for the cannabis space, exited that after a successful exit of selling it to a large appliance company, got into the CBD space. 2 years ago, the founders brought me on board to help prepare the company to scale and to grow the business. We bootstrapped the company from the beginning. We have about $150,000 into the company at this point, and we really are positioned to be the preeminent leader in the space. Does that answer your question, Max? Sorry.
My question, yes. Other questions from the panelists, please. F, please, and then Jen.
Yes, sorry, I got in front of you, Jen. I've been practicing on the button here. So first, could you walk through your, your financial ask, pre-money valuation? I think we got cut off there, but I'd like to know that. Second question is, if you could speak to your biodegradability in the K-Cup space, that's a huge issue. And then third, if you could speak to, sort of the formulation magic that you were suggesting lives beyond CBD.
Sure. Let's start with evaluation. Well, let's start with the ask. The $2 million is based on a bottom-up and top-down analysis. It isn't a number that we just picked out of the air. The pre-money valuation, being blunt.
What is it? We didn't hear you.
Oh, that's good. I'm sorry. I wish I could share. I thought you were looking at my screen. Sorry about that. We're looking for a $2 million investment on a pre-money value of $8.5 million. When you're trying
current revenue, could you just walk through that again?
Sure. We have 140,000 in lifetime sales, and we're ramping very rapidly this year. We expect to do a little over. Go ahead.
Year to date.
Year to date is probably less than 20,000, as we sold out a product at the end of 2020, and we're coming out with our K-Cup product line second week in May.
Okay, thank you. Other two questions, please.
Sure. In regards to the value, in regards to the valuation is.
No, you gave us the number. I think we had two other questions.
Oh, okay, but bioavailability?
No. First question was recyclability of the K-Cup cartridge itself. It's a huge issue in the business. Second, or in this case was third, now second. What are the other categories that you talk about these infusions regarding?
Sure. In terms of recyclability, most K-Cups have multiple components and aren't truly recyclable. Our K-Cup is made out of polypropylene, the exterior pod, the filter, as well as the top. So the entire product is 100% recyclable, which is unlike a lot of other K-Cups in the market today. In regards to
use of the technology and other products.
Yes, sorry. In regards to the use of technology, we have a proprietary patented formulation for CBD, which is also highly effective for other cannabinoids, terpenes, as well as THC.
Thank you.
Okay, Jen.
Appreciate it.
Hi, yeah, my question is kind of pivoting on the K-Cup. Like, why a K-Cup versus a bag of ground coffee that has CBD infused?
A great question. The company, when we started with a ground coffee. But the problem with ground coffee is when you're infusing CBD, there are too many options that can be left to the user, and those user options can change variability and can't control dosing. In order to be able to penetrate mass retail, we know we have to be able to provide an accurate dose. When somebody is left to their own devices and have lack of structure with the K-Cup, they can have the ability to change temperatures or different brewing methods, different filters, and we can't regulate and control the dose. With a K-Cup, we can, and that's going to open the doors to the mass markets for us.
Yes, Andrea. You're muted, Andrea.
Hold on. All right. 3 questions from me. Why did you settle on 25 milligrams? What else are you testing for besides potency? And what was the current retail outlet that you're selling through? Is it a e-commerce D2C solution or something else?
Sure. In regards to the milligrams, we looked at the marketplace and we didn't want to be a microdose. We want somebody that's going to be paying for this product to have efficacy, feel this product, know they're getting benefit from it. We also modeled our milligrams and after what we expected to be the New York regulation, where 25 milligrams was going to be the max for a CBD beverage. And I'm sorry, your second question.
Second question was, what else are you testing for in addition to potency?
We've started to look at different ways of increasing efficacy and increasing bioavailability. Those are the 2 areas that we're really focusing on, is actually bioavailability. How do we get the best customer experience? That's what it all comes down to, both from the coffee standpoint and from the efficacy of the CBD or whatever material we're dosing. We want to make sure that we're delivering on our promise and the customer is getting what they're paying for and has a really great experience with our product, because that's the only way we're going to get a repeat business.
And B2C versus your distribution.
Correct. Our B2C business is direct through our website. We're relaunching our website with a major digital partner mid-May. At the same time, we also have a wholesale business where we're doing private label, white label business. And then on top of that is our custom formulation business, where we're working with companies that are very large multinational companies, where we're infusing products for them to expand their product portfolios. Companies like a Starbucks, like a Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, I've got a question. Actually two questions. One is your pre-money valuation negotiable?
Yes. Let me give an answer on that.
That's the right answer. No, I got that. That's all the answer I want for now.
Yes, it is.
Now, the other question is a sort of a simple question. You know, CBD can have the effect of helping you concentrate more. It can relax you. It can mellow you out. What is this CBD going to do in my coffee? And by the way, I'm a big Nespresso user, and I love the concept of the pods. I like that part. But what's this going to do for me?
Well, first of all, we'll have Nespresso pods very shortly, Max, and I will send some to you.
Thank you.
But number two, what coffee is an excellent delivery vehicle for CBD for a number of reasons. Number one, it's habitual. It never seemed natural to me to be able to eat, for a normal adult to eat 3 gummies twice a day. It doesn't make sense. We wanted to tap into an existing habit, which is coffee. It's taken early in the morning when people tend to be a little creakier, and there's some benefit. What it really does is it mellows out the highs of the caffeine so that you have a really enjoyable coffee experience. And I look at THC as something where you get something, where you're getting high. I look at CBD as an absence. It's an absence of stress. It's an absence of inflammation, an absence of pain, and generally contributes to an overall happier lifestyle.
Got it. All right, we're going to switch to feedback. So mute yourself, please. Take notes if you'd like, but it's not necessary because this is being recorded. And we're going to go in the following order. It will be F, Jen, Nick, Andrea, and in this round, Ross will be last. So F, you're up first, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. I am shockingly familiar with your space, being a traditional food tech investor primarily. We've had an exit in functional beverages. We've invested in multiple coffee companies. One of our largest current investments, Mycotechnology, is delivering coffee as a protein investment. They're at about a $500 million valuation currently. Know the space well, dealt with K-Cups forever. I like what you're doing a lot. I think all of the pieces were very well delivered. I think in terms of, getting out the story, maybe a little less on some of the competitive pieces there. I think speaking to the larger opportunity to do an infusion model within the K-Cup story is very interesting. You do have a lot more competitors in that category than you're speaking to, because there's a whole category about nutraceuticals, vitamins, etc., going into coffee. Coffee is an ideal delivery vehicle because the heat, etc. I do believe you are spot on with dosing in terms of the K-Cups. Not sure whether being, a leaded or unleaded version of this makes the most sense, and not sure if you don't want to add a broader line. So, I'd probably like to have a broader conversation at some point. Max, make all the appropriate introductions.
Be happy to. That's good news for you, Chuck. All right, Jen, you're up next.
Hey, Chuck, good presentation. I've seen this one before, so I think I have a little bit of extra intel here. But one of my pieces of feedback would be that F and I both jumped on the K-Cups because, especially as we're talking about sustainability in the cannabis industry, K-Cups are known as a horrible polluter. So I think you should get up front about that, about how your K-Cups are different and they are fully recyclable, and definitely lean into that. As well as when we're talking about the dosing, because I've personally tried a lot of ground CBD coffees, and when I got to the bottom of the bag, I found a lot of white CBD powder. So I realized the dosing was super inaccurate, and that was just part of the formulation. And then I thought about what was caught in my filter. So I really like that you guys are kind of highlighting that the filters are an issue. There are some issues with your competitors. So I think coming out at the very beginning of ground coffee in a bag doesn't work and here's why, and then going into how recyclable your K-cups are really tells the story that you're not just doing this out of convenience, you're doing this out of scientific formulation and consistent dosing, which I think, like you're saying, a lot of your competitors just don't have. So again, great presentation. I love that you're talking about a money back guarantee. And I think it would be helpful for those of us who are more traditional cannabis investors to know where that THC piece is on your roadmap so that we know if this is going to be a pure CBD play or potentially something more. And then my last piece of feedback would be when you're talking about, potentially having a partner of a worldwide coffee brand, I would, in the back of my mind, I said, oh, so do they have a K-cup machine in the back, or is that a different formulation for if you're brewing it, at a coffee shop? So maybe that's something to consider as well. Thank you.
Great advice, Jan. Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I mean, the things that's weird, excuse me, is like in your first kind of elevator pitch, like you had a couple different things it was the second things that got me excited when you were like, oh, we have the ability of like water soluble products, these other things for like different types of beverage companies. I started to think like, okay, this is great. It's not just this one thing, but on a revenue standpoint, doing less than 20K, it is a pandemic, but you said you had mentioned that you had came in, I believe, 2 years ago, and they've been working on this for a while. Less than 200K revenue lifetime, like that's mildly terrifying. So unless you got tons of IP, tons of tech, R&D that took forever, but these are not that, we're not talking about like NASA stuff here. It's K-cups, so like there's plenty of things to pull from. I like these things, but there was a couple just triggers that I had here. It's like you sold out a product, like that's a problem once. That's a problem that only you can have one time. Like it happens again, like there's a supply chain problem, logistical problem, team problems, like studying up on like Kanban manufacturing, not having too much inventory, because you sell out of a product that starts to take off. I would rather not even like have started the product in the first place, because it's not just like lost potential, but it's like you were on that line to do revenue and people wanted it. And then you failed at executing, and that's terrifying, but things do happen. Been there, done that. I love the idea that this is recyclable. It's a kind of big thing. When we talk later on hemp packaging, like, from brands like Sana or like the other kind of like those sorts of the hemp alternatives company, like that's where there's like some great collaborations that can get even some of my funds that are like more ESG focused, like boom, you're not super good here, but like now it puts you into this new category. I have seen lots and lots of competitors do this. I have lots of these in our sorts of stores, seeing something that's going to be more repeatable, better quality. Like I like all of that, but for cannabis, you got to get even further than the quality of the coffee. You mentioned this place, 1,300 companies that you're working with, or that products were going from other products. Like highlight that a little bit more. Like it shows that what you've done, and that valuation, like 2M and an 8.5 for that much revenue. It's like a license and exit. I would have loved to have heard licensing or how, we can get this into like THC, CBD, other sides. And one just kind of big piece. There's a lot of things with vernacular that matter. There's only a few words in this industry that are really important, but when you're talking about cannabinoids, just look at that word, and like that second A is not an I. So from a credibility standpoint, if you might just want to practice the pronunciation of cannabinoids just a tad, if that's what your business model is.
Great stuff. Thanks, Nick. Andrea?
Yeah, I think some of my points got covered, but again, just want to highlight leaning into the recyclability component. From my perspective, that's hugely important. That's only going to matter more and more to people. And with one of my questions, I didn't really get the answer I wanted. So when I was asking about what else you're testing for, I was looking for, in terms of the way testing's done in the THC business, there's all the pesticides, all the chemicals. What that does is, the benefit, while it can be challenging in the supply chain, the benefit is knowing what a clean product you're putting in your body. And I like the way you pointed out, the potency problems in a lot of other hemp CBD brands, which is legitimate. And another component for me when I'm looking at that space is how toxic are these clean products? So assuming you're having a clean source, I think that would be another important brag point.
Thank you. Ross?
Yeah, I think I just echo a lot of the points that everybody's been speaking about. For me, the points that stood out, it was the disjoint between your revenue figures and the valuation and your ask. So I think that's going to you're going to have to really kind of rethink your cap. The supply chain issues was one of the major concerns. Well, was one of the concerns. I didn't see enough information, obviously, in your presentation, and specifically because you said you have the two revenue streams of the food tech, and that is more intriguing to me because I think that's a wider market that you can capitalize on and put into your business plan. And then specifically as both the coffee market and then the food tech opportunity relates to an exit. I mean, it's just in general. And I do think that you should start courting your exit strategy, from day one. Yeah, because you have that opportunity.
Great advice, you guys and gals. Thank you. We're going to vote again one more time. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have a 5, 4, 2 3s, and a 2, and that puts us at 17.
Okay, all right.
Panel, thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback and all your expertise and look forward to catching up with you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Nice job. Okay, next up, we're gonna welcome back Heather with Heather's Hemp Alternatives. You want to unmute and share your screen, please?
Oh, always though. I'm just going to stand up because I feel more comfortable standing up, and sitting down just makes me feel weird.
Whatever works for you.
Let's share. Okay. Oh, and we're all over the place. Okay. 1 second here. And let's present. Okay. Here we are. All right. So Heather's Hemp Alternatives, the solution to plastic pollution. So what do? We make hemp bioplastic alternatives to replace the petroplastic packaging in the cannabis industry. Heather's Hemp Alternatives is a company providing child-resistant hemp-based plastic packaging for the legal cannabis and hemp market.
Like Heather lost her sound. Heather, we can't hear you.
Experience working closely within the cannabis industry, gaining expertise in all industries. Heather has been, I've been a lifetime environmentalist, and I have my bachelor's in natural resources management from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And so did you know, this is funny, we're just talking about this, but did you know only 9% of the world's plastic is recycled? The rest is ending up as landfill or in our oceans or severely affecting our wildlife and marine life. So the not so green side of the cannabis industry, there has been a wide range of coverage over the environmental consequences of cannabis packaging, especially since legalization. And even top industry leaders are talking about it, and especially the cannabis consumers. So let's take a look at the numbers. For every pound of cannabis to be packaged into 1 gram pre-rolls or eighths, you would need a total of 454 pre-roll tubes and closures, or 129 eighth containers and closures. So our solution is child-resistant hemp bioplastic closures. They're USA made, our raw materials domestically grown and sourced. They are backyard compost friendly. Our next phase of products are biodegradable hemp bioplastic trellising. We are not just a packaging company. We are beginning R&D in January of 2022, and currently there is a very high demand for this product with no solution. So our idea is closing the loop with our products, creating products that are designed to break down and nourish the soil and can be used again. So our target customers, cannabis brands using sustainable regenerative farming practices, eco-conscious consumers, packaging distributors, cannabis cultivators. Our current traction, we've had a wide base of inquiry about our products since launching on social media. Distros and regenerative growers are requesting products once they're ready. So there's so much opportunity for growth just looking at where states where cannabis is legal and where states where cannabis is becoming legal. So our competition, like Nick was mentioning, Sauna Packaging. Sauna is our most well-known, provides hemp and ocean reclaimed, but their packaging is not backyard compostable. Kush Supply Co. Kush is one of the largest distributors in the USA, manufacturer of cannabis packaging, but is polypropylene-based plastic. So what separates HHA from Sauna and Kush? So first off, we are creating compostable, backyard compostable closures for cannabis packaging. Sonnet is only commercial compostable. We are focused on creating packaging products and cultivation products, not like any of our other competitors. We have a huge location advantage, being located in Humboldt County, the epicenter of the Emerald Triangle, with distributor centers right down the street. So meet our team. I'm the founder. Miko Rajan is our marketing director in public relations. Tim Bottinger is our CAD designer and engineers, work very closely with designing with hemp plastics. And Kira McIntyre has been designing in the Silicon Valley for the last 10 years. COVID and cannabis was deemed essential business. Overseas supply chains were disrupted, and the 35% growth in full-time jobs in the industry reported for 2020. So here's where we're at today. Last 2 years in R&D, high resolution 3D prototypes, established connections with key players and future customers, 25,000 R&D capital invested, tooling for samples have begun. Here is a 5-year projection of our revenue growth, taking the following considerations. As you can see, year 2.
Heather, you're out of time. You're 4 minutes up. I have a question for you. Are you able to see your slides?
I am.
And can you
Yes.
go back to the 4th or 5th or 6th slide? Just keep going back. Okay, go. Oh, stop. None of your slides, we were not able to see any of your visuals on your slides.
Oh no.
Now we can.
Oh no. Okay. Do I start over?
Hardly. No, we can't give you an extra 4
Yeah,
minutes.
no. Oh, that's so. They're all there. Huh. I saw all the visuals on my end.
That's weird. I've never had that happen before. Maybe we can give you another chance at another event, but that was.
That's yeah. All the visuals are on my end. I can see everything. Let me try to.
No, we're done. We've got to go. We've got to switch to Q&A and feedback.
Okay.
We'll grant you that.
Wow.
Because I couldn't believe.
Oh, look, it said start my video, and I didn't press start my video,
Okay.
and then that's why it didn't go. Oh.
Okay, we're gonna switch to questions, Heather. Okay, questions. Anybody? Yes, Nick, and then Ed.
First part of that felt like that SNL sketch when they're like, "How do you turn on the video?" Like from Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It was hilarious.
I didn't press the start video, I guess, and I've never seen that. Sorry, this is my first time. I thought I was seeing it on my end, and
Nick, hold on 1 second. Adrian, you did a run through with Heather?
Yeah.
And when you saw the run through, you were able to see all the
I could see all her pictures.
Okay. All right. Maybe it's my bad. Maybe I should have stopped it earlier and had you correct that. But regardless, we got to move on. Nick, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So at one point you said like when our products are ready, which is sometimes terrifying to me because it's like you're developing products and you got 25K invested into the company so far. So why don't you?
Let him ask Heather. Let him ask you a question.
So why don't you have products ready yet? And you've only got 25K into this company that's like going to be creating things. Explain a little bit more about that, or like how that's not very much into this yet.
Right. So I have been working as a founder for this company for the past 2 years, and it's on solely my income. So the investment that we have created was from family and friends. I am, 31. I don't have a 401k for, a retirement to hold back on. So I'm really relying on family and friends to bootstrap right now. So it's really been bootstrapping. We have high resolution 3D prototypes to make sure that they were child resistant and that we were creating molds that were not going to be guarantee effectiveness, of course. So we right now, as I'm not sure if you know, but tooling, injection molding with hemp bioplastic is very expensive. So your initial tools that you need for products is very expensive. So right now our samples will be, our single cavity induction mold is completed here within 4 weeks. We've been waiting on. The last 6 months, we've been trying to get our unit mold, and unfortunately, we're going with not a good person, an engineer that lacked integrity, and so we lost a lot of time.
Heather, shorter answers if you can.
Okay.
You got it. Okay.
Sorry, Max.
Okay, take a deep breath, Heather. It's all good. All right. Eph, you're up next, please, and then Andrea.
Thank you. This is a really meaningful category, frankly, far more meaningful than it is in the cannabis business. There are companies, we're very involved, and I want to just ask some core questions. The reason I'm going to say this, Max, I'm not pontificating. I want science. So we're involved in the mushroom-based recyclable packaging materials, as well as some of the others like Footprint that do this. Could you please explain the science piece of the model?
Yes, so our child-resistant closures are made with hemp hurd, a 30% hemp hurd, and then our polymer that we add is a bio-based polymer that is marine and backyard compostable. So a lot of the hemp packaging that you see on the market is not.
So question. So the polymer you're buying, are you buying that off the shelf? Are you designing it?
So we are going through a biopolymer compounder company who creates our resin for us. And
Did you design the resin? Did you design the resin?
The company designs the resin. We buy the resin from.
But did you formulate the resin and then they made it for you?
I basically requested a certain resin form for me.
All right, what's the price per kilogram of the resin and then the finished product,
so,
raw material?
I'm not sure on kilogram, but I have a pound. It's $3.60 a pound. It's about $1.20 more than what Sauna Packaging is paying. Because theirs is only industrial compostable.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. Andrea?
Yeah, so couple different questions. I'm just curious why you think being based in Humboldt is an asset to the company, and then when do you expect to get to market? Just if you have enough cash flow to just get a product actually to market, and tied to that, do you have any brands that are going to be a part of that launch that you have any sort of LOIs, any sort of agreements with?
Yes, so Humboldt County is basically the main processing and hub and cultivation of cannabis in the whole United States. So right now where I reside, there's about 10 huge distribution centers. We call it the Green Mile, about 10 minutes from my house. So this is basically where all of the growers in Humboldt County take their product to get distributed. So the distros, they package their product and they sell it for them. And I reside like right here in the middle of it. And I've worked closely in the cannabis industry for the past 10 years in Humboldt County. So I have very close connections here.
Other questions?
And then the second question about if I have some LOIs with some companies. I have a lot of companies in the area that are interested, especially the owner of Peak Distribution who carries Sauna Packaging. He wants to carry our packaging for the entire regenerative brand they have going on in Shively. It's a dry farmed brand. And I also been talking to Tree Hugger Containers. They really, really, really want to carry our child resistant lids on their line. I have Hippo Packaging. They're very, very interested. I have a whole list of people that are interested. It's a matter of getting these samples out, sending them to them, and then really getting in the ball. It's like fishing. I feel like I'm fishing in the ocean with no worm on my hook.
Heather, shorter answers, please. Tell us again what the deal is for investors. How much you're looking for, and is the convertible note as a president?
Yeah, thank you. So we're looking for $1 million and at a $2.5 million pre-money valuation at a $5 million cap in form of a convertible note.
Okay. Any other questions before we switch to feedback? Well, I've got one last question. Yes, Jen, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to know, what's the price point going to be compared to the packaging people are using today?
Yes, thanks. So we really wanted to make it price comparable. That was my main goal in this, not only for the biodegradability, but it's not going to be much more than you see Sauna's Ocean Reclaimed child resistant lids. It all depends on your tools. So we're creating a high cavity tool to bring that price unit down.
Okay. And my last question is, you said you were involved in the cannabis industry for the last 10 years. What have you done before you started your?
I started in 2009 selling to Harborside when it was just medical. I was an indoor grower. Then I went on to managing my own farms. That I was a trim manager as well. Packaging, I've been through all the segments. Now I'm stepping on the other side of the hemp
Got
world.
it. Thank you. Okay. So if you would mute yourself now, we're going to start with feedback, and we're going to start with Jen this time. Then Nick, Andrea, Ross will end up with F. Jen, you're first, please.
Hi, thanks for the presentation, Heather. I agree with like what a lot of other people have said, that sustainability is just such a high priority right now. And I really liked your intro about how much plastic and packaging it takes just for a pound of cannabis to get to consumers. So this is really top of mind for people. And I like how you have your competitors kind of laid out. But one thing that kind of went in the back of my mind was, you know the space so well, you know these competitors. Part of me was wondering why you don't just license or sell this to them and like outsource a lot of this versus building it yourself. So I think I'd like to hear more of that story of like why you want to build this, and you know what your personal moat is going to be, because I feel like there's other people in the space who are kind of doing something similar. And even though I think you have a very unique value proposition, I want to hear that story come across even more, because my first inclination was sell this to these other folks who are doing this and just make a ton of money off licensing. So I want to hear that story a bit more. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
It's just like those things that like I want to love, but I'm just not able to. But I do love it. So the main thing is like with where it is, understanding like the plastic space, the manufacturing space, it is super cost intensive to get into it. So you've put your own cap into it, you've come up with your own money. A couple of the differentiating features of like backyard compostable is kind of great, like to be able to throw those like in the compost, but on like a TAD, like that's maybe 3-4% of a market where that not a p-value, not super significant. I do like the idea and the concept of this, but it needs to come faster and have other applications other than just cannabis side. And sadly, like that idea of like the Emerald Triangle, knowing it, like having done license work there and so forth, it's great to be like where, let's say they're growing a lot of tomatoes because you make the tomato packaging, but I don't want to invest into anything that's California corporations. I mean, the taxes are just ridiculous. No offense on workforce up there. Like there's not manufacturing companies in Humboldt for a reason for this sort of thing. Cannabis, other things, yes. But when it comes to like the type of executives and others that like your company's going to need, it's going to be more challenging to try to get those people there to scale that business. So the licensing side would be really key. When you say you've got a whole bunch of people interested in this, I want to hear about pre-sales. Like pre-sales, if you can get $1 revenue pre-sale, like even if you're selling it at a discount, not saying do some silly thing like Kickstarter or something like that, but like $1 means something to me. Somebody put their money where their mouth is. Your friends and family did because they believe in this vision. They believe in you and your team. And you've been working on this for a couple of years. It's pretty impressive. And this is a really important space. So disruptive when you think, even like the lights for indoor cannabis, you're talking almost 20 pounds of coal per gram. So like if we can start chipping away at that and making this actually like a people, planet, profit industry, I'm 100% down and willing to take the risk on that, but not a calculated risk. So that's where I think if there are other companies that have raised and are building executive teams and scaling, and I hate to say it, but have relationships with Chinese manufacturers and US and others in diversification, joining something like that would be stronger. Because I think, like, I'm a dreamer, obviously, but there's a certain moment when like the rubber hits the road, and that's got to happen really fast now, or somebody's going to outcompete you on this space. You got to like ramp up fast or get the wisdom and share it with the world and get your cut. And that's where I would say like take the exit now before trying to build the plane, you know, and get it there. I just don't know if you'll make it in time.
Thanks, Nick. Andrea?
Nick kind of jumped on some of my comments. That was, you know, some of what Nick was saying about that area is why I was specifically asking of like why being in Humboldt. Like we all know it's great for cannabis growing and has that legacy, but I was curious why you were putting that forward as an asset. I don't know if that really makes the point that you're trying to bring. And so again, think of like the team you want to build long term and where those folks are going to come from. I would love to see you, you know, if you're going to continue to build this on your own, I would love to see some actual agreements rather than hearing someone's really, really interested, because we all know you got to talk to 100 people to get one on board. And having some existing companies and brands, if you can't do those pre-sales, just getting some agreements, I think that will help open some additional doors to you. I think it is important, you know, as a retailer, I look at people's packaging all the time. It is often what makes or breaks someone coming onto our shelves, and also hearing about what their plans are for the future. So I think there's opportunity for you, but I hope you can get to market with the cash that you have, because I want to see you get samples out soon and really be able to push that out there. And of course, I will say I'm totally self-taught on pitching, but make sure you check your tech, because we got to miss a lot of your visuals, and my initial comments were all about how I wanted you to help bring out your story with the visuals. Because again, like Jen said, like the stuff around pollution, and some of us know these figures, some of us don't, like how little is actually recyclable from what we put in our, or like, what I put in my bins, what actually gets recycled. The real facts are pretty sobering. So I would love to make sure that everyone can see the great visuals you've put together.
Thank you. Ross?
So just a couple of comments on your actual presentation. I think that let me begin with, my hat is tipped to you. I believe that you are realizing your life's work and your passion, from your days in SLO. And I think you will continue along this path and to great success. But along the way, I think that you are Humboldt-centric, and that's a good, loving place to come from. But I think that you need partners on your current team, which I wanted to see at least pictures of, but also know a little bit more about what they're able to do. Because my sense is that at this stage of your evolution, the sales specifically, or the potential for future sales is a little lacking. I think that one way to address that is to have a team that is well established, that can pick up their contact list, just access their contact list to be able to make those preliminary relationships for you to get ahead of the curve. Whether that's in actual people, and it sounds like you're doing that. I mean, you're trying to do that, with engineers that don't work out, kind of thing. That's the nature of a startup. But I think if you go outside of your network in Humboldt, then I think they're very much available. Yeah. So and then the advisors, board of advisors, or something like that. I wanted to see a board of advisors that is heavy hitter enough that they can just access the context that you need to at least get this, because your product and your solution. The problem is you are crafting a solution to a very, very large problem, a very necessary problem. And your solution is not only for the cannabis industry, it's for the entire pharmaceutical industry. And it's a global market that you have, at your feet. So, if you think in those terms, your advisors and your team have to be able to accommodate that in the future, and what it takes to get there from now.
Thanks, Ross. Eph?
Yeah, so, I echo everything my colleagues have said, just to put a little more of a point on it. You just need to think bigger than Humboldt, to just start the conversation. Number one. Number two, I honestly would suggest you just frankly flip the script. I mean, this being a story where you're going after the cannabis packaging with a blended hemp/polymer packaging model is kind of interesting, but it's going after very little market. If you flip the script and said you are a hemp, sort of 70% packaging product, I think everybody on this panel would say, hemp is one of the greatest renewable resource plants out there on the planet. In this business, and I think you really need to think beyond your sort of model with cannabis packaging. This is a global giant industry. There are companies that my friend is, funded called Footprint. They're at billion-dollar valuations, et cetera, using all different types of models. No one has cracked necessarily the hemp model. Maybe you have as well. I mean, if you came to me and said, I've got a packaging solution that's 70% hemp, 30% polymer, and I think I can get the cost down to X, you've got a 10 times more interesting company to everybody on the planet. And then if you turned around and said to me, well, I can get some early adopters in the cannabis space because people care and the price points are high, and my friction to get into that business is low, I think that totally makes sense. But to not think about creating something that's world changing based on a social impact story around cannabis is shooting yourself, in the foot, and really, make it, not giving yourself the opportunity to be a big company. It's great if you build your foundation there, but you could be $1 billion company if there's some really solid science. And I would focus on that and less about how Sana or anybody else, no offense, or whatever, tiny little itsy bitsy cannabis company, cares about packaging. Because in the real world, those folks do about as much volume as your local McDonald's franchise, most likely less. So people care less about it in the real world.
Thank you. You got about, I think, Heather, you got about $10,000 worth of consulting advice here. So I see that you're open to it, and I like your message in the chat room. That was a good technique. All right, we're going to vote one more time, folks. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have 2 4s, a 3, and 2 2s. That puts us at 15.
Okay, great. Thanks, Heather. All right, next we're going to welcome back James Shee with My Green Network, and Adrian, is James going to be joined by someone?
James is going to present, and then his co-founder Ken is going to be joining us for Q&A.
Q&A. Okay, James, if you'll share your screen, and we'll be ready to go when you are.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Give me 1 second, please.
Sure.
Let's get this going. So welcome to America's first cannabis cloud kitchens. Now, one of the things that we really did with our management team is focused on the legal aspect. What makes us unique is that we actually have 3 attorneys on our board, and we've actually spent the last 7 years developing the solution as to how people legally enter the licensed cannabis industry. And with that, I'm just going to dive right into a story. We're going to go with one of our members, Weed Confections, is actually coming with us. And they actually had a dream. For the last decade, they've been talking about how do we get in this industry, and they never saw it as a possibility. And they're not just people coming out of nowhere. Matt Kim, one of the founders, actually comes from the Linear Group, one of the 16 3-star Michelin restaurants in the United States. And his partner, Matt Robotham, actually comes from Cresco Labs and is one of the founders of Mindy's. So with this team in mind, when they came in, they quickly ran into a problem. And the problem is what everybody faces today. It's $1 million or more to really enter the industry. And that problem was solved when they came to us and they found an all-in-one cannabis production space. And that cannabis production space really does a few things for them. Number one is we knocked down the cannabis licensing process to about $50,000. On top of that, we do the licensing. They don't have to worry about it, which means a completely simplified process for them to get into the licensed cannabis industry. The second biggest benefit for them is a complete revolution for how manufacturers work. We give them a flexible membership plan starting as low as $1,450 a month, which scales with their business, which means the more products that they need to create, the more they're renting from us and the more services that they're actually using. And ultimately, they will have a complete trust with us because our business is dependent on also their success. So it's a mutually aligned interest, and they get full access to a collaborative environment where not just they're meeting us, but they're also meeting other manufacturers in our space. Today, Weed Confections is coming in. They're ready to produce their super high ultra end truffles and pâté de fruits, as well as bonbons. And they explain it as it's going to basically put Godiva as a second tier chocolate. And that just really gives you an idea of who we're really handling. And when you talk about why invest with us, the first reason why is our business model. We are the first large scale type S cannabis cloud kitchens in the United States. And what we mean by that is we bring immediate cash flow because when members come in, they're paying a licensing fee and a monthly membership fee every single time. On top of that, we get into our second revenue stream, which is our manufacturing process. It's wholesale and fusion ready products. Members can come in and actually buy products on site from us directly. In addition, now that they made their products, they need to get that out to distribution. So they use our Type 11 distribution license, and that gets them anywhere in the state of California. So what we actually have is a closed loop supply chain of revenue. And this really means we have a captured audience as well, with massive competitive advantages. For us, we're first to market. A really important part is actually our licensing team, which we have a full team capable of getting these people their license in 60 days. And that's actually by government approval. On top of that, we have a strategic location located in Orange County, which is centrally located in all of SoCal, and we're vertically integrated, which means when people come in, they have all the services that they actually need to succeed. This is very different from today's manufacturers. Today's manufacturers created huge facilities, really developed for themselves. One operator, than what they actually wanted to do. In addition for that, this really goes, a big difference for us was who can we actually target? So when we thought about our target market, we started with 3: entrepreneurs, food and beverage, and beauty. That quickly actually grew into the CBD market, licensed operators actually coming to us, and ultimately celebrities and other high brands coming in with us. And this really means that we appeal to anyone that wants to create their own cannabis brand. We know it works because we are completely pre-sold with deposits with companies like the Frida Kahlo Corporation, all the way to the entrepreneur that's really starting for the first time.
James, your 4 minutes are up. There's so many points you didn't cover. You spent 2 minutes telling us about all the lawyers. Did you go over our 8 points and practice this?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to switch to questions. Nick's got his hand up first.
So first, when this thing doesn't work out, would you be open to a job for a new company that actually could do something? Second, what would you say you do here? Like in 15 seconds, like I understand the licensing. I've started thousands of those. Like, what do you do as an entity? Because you went all over the place, from distro to like manufacturing. Now you said California right in the last minute, which I'm like, now I understand kind of a bit, but like, what do you do?
Sure. I'm actually going to have Ken, actually, he's coming on in. He's one of my co-founders. And so he'll be answering a lot of the questions as well. So Ken?
Office space. It's like, what would you say you do here?
Hi, Nick. Thanks for the question. So we are a cannabis cloud kitchen. Imagine it as a shared type of space facility, similar to like WeWork, Phoenix Salon Suites, Salon Republic, and also the cloud kitchen model itself.
The location that they can do contract manufacturing in is part of like your license.
Absolutely, except the only difference is people will get their own license on the state level and city level.
Roger that. Thank you.
Boy, that would have been nice if we had heard that statement before. Okay, F is next.
Yeah. So real quick, I mean, this seems to be a trend in terms of kind of this kitchen-esque kind of model out there. To me, it sounds like the contract manufacturing business in the food space with the ability to use the license. Do you envision, really at the end of the day, kind of becoming an accelerator, where you really do, idea, concept, completion, distribution, the whole package, sort of a bespoke kind of thing for your customers?
Oh, absolutely. In our future plans, we have an incubator program that we plan to accelerate certain rising star companies.
Yeah, no, I figured that was coming. Okay, I take a look at WeWork and some of the other folks that have really, got some press in the whole accelerator space, before you bring that model in. But yeah, it looked like that's where you're going. And I think you need to figure out which lane you want to be in and stay there.
Other questions? Yes, Andrea, please.
I guess I want to understand a little bit more. So you're helping people obtain the license, or are they operating under your license? Like, I'm just curious about the actual structure. And then I think you made a comment that you might be first to market, but I know that, in the Bay Area, there's other group manufacturing type of entities like this functioning.
Yeah, so the way our model works is a company will come in, we will help them get their own city license and state license. We actually have a guarantee because of our massive licensing experience through Colorado, Northern California, Southern California. And then after that company gets their state license and city license, they can produce any type of cannabis consumer product in our facility. We'll have 7 different suites. They can create edibles, topicals, beverages, co-pack pre-rolls, breakdown flower, fill vape carts. Any consumer product that on the cannabis side, they can produce.
So it's a manufacturing license tied to your facility?
Yes, we have manufacturing and distro. And then to answer your other question, our main competitor would be Infusion Factory in Sacramento. But their model is a little bit different than ours, where they perform white labeling for other licensees, whereas we incubate and we develop the shared space for the actual licensees themselves.
So how much money are you spending on equipment in this facility?
It's about $400K.
And that will allow people to manufacture, produce, whatever. Is that correct? I mean,
Yes, and then our COO, he's the Michelin trained chef. He used to work at Melise and other top restaurants. He actually developed the whole kitchen, and he's sourcing all the equipment to create beverages, pre-rolls, everything you can imagine.
it's becoming a little more clear to me. Yes, Jen, and then Ross.
Yeah, so can I ask like how much you guys are raising and what your current valuation cap is?
Yes, our ask is 500K. We've actually gone through a couple rounds of financing. Our first round was 500K, and then we raised an additional 500K through the Micro Ventures crowdfunding platform, which closed a couple weeks ago. And our pre-money valuation would be at 8.5 million.
That negotiable?
Yes.
Good. Ross, please.
So how do you make the money? People pay you memberships on a monthly basis, or how does that work?
Yeah, we have three main revenue streams. The first revenue stream is the membership fee that members will pay on a monthly basis. And then the second revenue stream is we actually supply the members with the raw materials they need to produce the cannabis products. So we will develop revenue off that margin. And then the last revenue stream is we will distribute on behalf of our members from B2B under our distribution license and through a strategic partnership for delivery for B2C. So we control the whole supply chain from beginning to end.
What if they wanted? What if they wanted to do those last two parts themselves? What if they wanted to distribute themselves?
It's a possibility that we consider, but we want exclusivity for us to make that money. And we have a very vast network already. So it would be more advantageous for these members to come through us because we already have a fully developed network.
Got it. Okay, we're going to, last question, Andrea, go ahead.
I have one more question. You said you sold through membership or something. Do you mean like you have people tied to the rooms that you will get licensed, or did I?
Oh yeah, we pre-sold 30 membership spots already for an average cost of about $50,000 each.
Okay, and that's them. Okay, I understand.
I'm just sort of flabbergasted with this stuff. We're getting the feedback and I'm jumping ahead of everybody else. I'm just flabbergasted that you guys didn't include all this stuff that you should have, that came out in the questioning. All right, I'll shut up and let the panelists give their feedback. So if you guys would mute yourselves, please. Also, Ken, do you have a light that you can put on your it's hard to see. It's like you're in the dark. We're going to start with Andrea and then we'll go to Ross, F, Jen, and we'll finish up with Nick. Andrea, you're up first, please.
Just, main feedback was I didn't really understand the business or the business model during the allotted pitch time. So, and also, I would want to make sure that a lot of times I just pitch on my own. So if you can't answer the questions on your own, you might be in trouble. I think people want to make sure that everyone can answer the questions if anybody's going to be on the screen.
Great, thank you. Very, very good point. Ross?
So I'm unfamiliar with your business model, but I am familiar with a lot of kind of real estate development. And so I went through your executive summary previously, and I still wasn't able to quite understand how you're going to make your revenue. I'm getting a better sense, through your presentation. So thank you. I think everybody would kind of argue your valuation. But that's inevitable again, and partially because I'm not quite understanding, the business model at this point. Yeah. And then, are you bringing any diversity to your management team?
They actually can't answer. They can't answer that, but
okay.
Hopefully that's part of their plan. I went out of line. Nick, you should go first, and then F, and then Jen. Nick, you're next, please.
Oh shoot, I was like gonna come in like at the end and I'll be like, oh yeah, but I agree with what F said. Aren't I? Well, first, just great personality, James, like great presentation. Sad thing is Ken knows WTF like is actually going on. I wanted to hate you and I did hate you until like the end and I started to think about it more. So there is a certain amount of drive and hustle. You did say a few things that were wrong that aren't possible, having done this like 1,000 times too. I'd love to talk to you guys offline free, try to figure something out, because this model can work very, very well with that new type S, which not many people have figured out how to exploit. Not really sure why you're doing just a type 6 non-volatile, because it's going to limit certain things that you can do for some of the like brands that might want things from dimethyl ether, mixed hydrocarbon extraction, big ethanol, you name it. Like, so you kind of limit yourself there. but with different brands. And to do that, Orange County taxes are a little high, but you could attract talent. Like I can kind of see the play here where supplying the raw materials, doing the distro 2 there and 4. So I don't know, like every part of me wants to just not like this, but I like your drive. I like the vision. You just don't know how to explain what this is correctly, because I get it, and to execute on it's the big thing. So bring in a little bit of help and you might be able to do something awesome here.
Thank you. Eph, you're next.
Yeah, thanks. I always hate going behind Nick because he makes it so sweet there. I echo some of the things he said. I think, coming out of the traditional food tech space, this is a model, sans the leaded versus unleaded that we talk about with cannabis, that is pretty well regarded in the space. A sort of an approach to doing these kind of brand turnkey. I mean, I can go make my own wine and put my own label on it, all the way to major large brands using this as an innovation engine into their pieces. So at the end of the day, I think you really need to figure out what you want to be, right? If you want to be an accelerator for edible products, for leaded edible products, where you bring great idea makers in, you get behind them, they own a piece of it, you do everything else, and run them through all the different gates, that's great, right? Or if you want to be a commercial kitchen operation where you guys handle all the legality of making this stuff unleaded, that's great. But at the end of the day, this market is so incredibly nascent and it's so incredibly hard to execute that you might as well just, run an open contest and, for different brand ideas for yourselves, guys, because, getting, the universe of entrepreneurs that want to make these types of products, that have the skills to make them, that really understands what it takes to make a great consumer product is like, a thimble in the ocean. Whereas if you go into the broader market, it is still a thimble in an ocean. Maybe it's a little smaller ocean. So, you just got to pick something, right? Be an accelerator. Cool. We'll all get behind you. Be an on-demand kitchen, be a contract manufacturer, be an enabling technology for people who want to try stuff. Be, Kate's custom kitchen so she can have leaded, Christmas cookies for her friends and put a custom label on it. Just pick one. But you can't do it all successfully. And because at the end of the day, no one is going to buy this 15-headed monster, right? And I just can't see you guys going public, 10 years from now. So pick something that will fit into someone else's package one day.
Thanks, Eph. Jen, you want to wrap it up for us, please?
Sure. So I'll kind of echo what some of the other folks said. Is now I kind of understand what you do, but at first I really didn't, because there was this customer story you were trying to tell, but I couldn't really tell at first if that was like a testimonial or like your, archetype. So I think if you want to use that weed example, like you have to kind of set it up more like, hey, these guys want to manufacture, but they don't have a manufacturer license. They want to test it, but they don't want to invest $1 million. Like there's a better way to kind of craft this story to show like who your customer is and how they use you. You also kind of used like the whole ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen analogy, but then a lot of the photos that I saw looked very like WeWork-ish. So I got really confused. It's like, is this an office space where I meet other entrepreneurs? And I think that's why everybody's kind of saying, is this an accelerator? Are you trying to connect people? And then I think you guys had some of your own language. So I think you have revenue. Like, I'm pretty sure I heard you say that, like we pre-sold memberships. So if that's revenue, just tell us, like we made X amount of dollars in revenue and we're not even open. That's amazing. But that did not come through. But I'm pretty sure that's what you mean. And if you had thrown out that number, I think that would have really helped when people kind of hear your valuation and then understand what you've already put into the business, what's built out. I also don't understand if this is happening yet or if it's not built, because some of the photos, looked like mock-ups. So I think it'd be helpful for me as an investor to understand where you are in this journey, where your customers are, and if you have revenue, like preach that to the, to the heavens that you guys have revenue, and don't try to use language, because it actually like just caught me off guard. And I was like, pre-sold memberships, what are they talking about? What does that mean? And I just want to make sure that you're connecting with investors as they speak.
Thanks, Jen. Great feedback. And hopefully, James, you and Ken heard Nick say that he would help you and spend some time with you. And that's huge as well. So let's vote again on this company, on My Green Network. 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have a 4, a 3, and 3 2s. That puts us at 13.
Okay, thank you. All right, we've got 2 more companies. Next up, Kina from Pot and Pans. Welcome back to Kina. Where is Kina? If she's not coming up, we will switch to come back to her last and bring.
Give me a second. We're having technical difficulties moving her into the room.
Okay, now we got her. Right?
There she is.
Good. All right, good. Now share your screen, please, Kina. And you're muted.
Yeah, something just happened, kind of like the other young lady, like all the pictures went away.
Really?
Because it took a really long time for it to come back and say I was being invited. So it was super weird.
Okay, let's see if you can bring your video up. If not, we'll.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get it going.
All right.
Can you guys see pictures?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's not, see, that's what it is. That's not right.
No.
There should be pictures here. I can see them in other places, but.
Weird, because this never happened before, and now it's happening twice at the same time.
It's never happened to me either. So we'll do this.
Let's advance. You want to go forward on a couple to see if the pictures are showing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, they're there. It's just really one slide this time. So, okay.
All right.
All right.
Please begin.
All right. Sure. Well, hello again, everybody. We are Pot and Pans, a cannabis infused meal delivery kit service. So that picture in the middle is really a beautiful picture of somebody at home chopping up their vegetables and making a meal kit. We're a direct to consumer business that is subscription based, and we do home delivery with a multitude of.
Hold on.
If you want the pictures to show, use a PDF versus PowerPoint.
I would have to print it to PDF.
Okay.
I don't want you guys to have to wait for that. But it's just a picture of somebody cooking. So yeah, the infusion options are multiple. So we have high, low, and CBD only. So some of our advantages are we fill that savory foods, edibles void, right? Everywhere we go, there's just sugar. Obviously, we are cannabis infusing our ingredients. So that's where we're differentiated from other meal kit services. We're leveraging my existing audience. I have been hosting a cannabis cooking show online since 2018, and also leveraging my 6 years of recipe development through my cookbook that I wrote back in 2015, as well as my recipe development work with publications such as High Times and brands like Satori. So I'm Kina, I'm the founder. I am American Culinary Federation certified in culinary cannabis and edibles. I am a product developer, and also I teach culinary cannabis at Greenleaf University. I have an amazing team that are cross-functional within finance, business development, policy advocacy, as well as marketing. Our target demographic are women ages 31 to 50 through our own market research. And the problem that we're basically trying to solve is the complexity of cannabis cooking. Converting to the metric system and understanding dosing is cumbersome, and people don't want that. It's time consuming. A base can take 3 hours alone before you get to make your meal, and it makes people intimidated. They don't want to waste good weed, so they don't want to cook. And if you completely forego all of that stuff, you hire somebody like me, it's going to cost you upward of $100 a plate. So it's extremely expensive. But the solution is pot and pans. We're conveniently packaged, we're accurately dosed, affordable, and easy to follow recipes. So our direct market right now is going to be the meal kit delivery market, which has grown amazingly to 11.6 billion next year. And our TAM is going to be cannabis edibles as a whole. And we know that that's a $4.2 billion business. And our SAM is niched down into infused foods, and we're about 70% of the edibles market at 294 million. Now, our SOM is going to be in our launch market, which is Michigan. So we're looking at infused foods of about $13.72 million. Now, our journey started just last month when we won the Minority for Medical Marijuana pitch competition. And since then, we filed for trademark protections. We've conducted market research of my previous customers and fans, and listed an amazing advisory board, and recently registered as a Delaware General Corporation. So our business model is subscription-based, and the pricing is basically based on how many meals per week you'd like and the infusion diversity of those particular meals. We also have a standalone option. We charge a delivery fee that'll be paid weekly based on your subscription. And then we also have a B2B play where we're getting some revenue there from companies who want to advertise in the box. So that's going to be cannabis-based businesses. So right now, our projections are about 38 million in gross revenue by year 4 and EBITDA of about 19 million in that same year. I'll leave this here for 2 beats if anybody wants to actually use that QR code. And we also have a link at the bottom. It's a bit.ly link, pp-projections for more detail. And then we're really excited about our exit opportunities. As I said before, large MSO dispensaries or processors would really be where we would be looking at in terms of their expansion. And then some of our competition makes us really encouraged. Blue Apron exited at 1.9 billion by IPO, Home Chef by 700 million by acquisition from Kroger.
Kina, you're out of time. Tell us what the deal is, please.
Sure. Yep. It's the last slide. Raising 2 million seed round on a safe 10% discount and a $10 million cap.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You covered all of our points. Got that one in. Very nice job. Questions, please. Yes, Nick, and then F.
Thanks. So just to clear this up, so infused products, like, is this a state specific thing? Because I think of like pre-order pickup deliveries happening in, like, let's say California companies, Massachusetts companies. Because we have these state lines, some imaginary, some rivers between them, but with that kind of mentality, how is this going to start in the key states? How do you do this based on the infusion, the possession standpoint?
Yeah, so like I said, our launch state is going to be the state of Michigan. That's what we're planning for. So everything is regional. So we would be working in the Michigan market to basically get a great proof of concept. And then we have a licensing play, essentially. So once we've had that proof of concept and we've shown all that revenue, we have other processors who would potentially want to license, the name, essentially like franchising to other processors across state lines.
F, please.
Yeah, I'd love to ask some questions. What's your, average price per meal kit?
Yeah, so we're looking at $19.99 to $25.99 per serving. So that minimum box is going to cost you about $100 to the consumer.
How much of that?
Did our market research.
How much of that is not the cannabis versus non-cannabis components of the box?
Essentially, we wouldn't be infusing every ingredient for the particular recipe. So, for instance, let's say there's a chicken Alfredo. Particular recipe, most likely in terms of an infusion medium would be like the Alfredo sauce. So we're talking like a prepackaged Alfredo sauce that is infused and dosed, and then the other ingredients would be standard ingredients. So the box itself, in terms of everything that goes in there from a cost standpoint, are mostly packaging, because we're talking about not even like a whole chicken, but a couple cutlets of chicken, for instance. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, more or less. Thank you so much.
Yes, please, Andrea.
I keep doing that. So one, I'm familiar with your book, and it's great to hear you pitch. Can you bring up your slide about the dosages? I just wanted to see that again.
Of course.
Or I can just ask, can you break down the dosage amount?
Yeah, for sure. So basically, I'm personally a microdoser, and I really wanted to make sure that we had options for everybody. So we have what we call our standard dose, and that's going to be 20 milligrams per serving of broad spectrum cannabis, but obviously the THC percentage is what we're going to be calling out. Then we have high, which is 50 milligrams per serving, low, which is 10 milligrams per serving, and then a CBD only option for those who don't necessarily want psychoactive meals, or if they want to mix and match, like in their plan, where maybe there's one psychoactive meal and two non-psychoactive meals.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, Ross?
Share with me what a typical menu would be, and then how many SKUs are you anticipating, and how do you scale that over the next few years?
Yeah, for sure. So they're not CPG, so it wouldn't necessarily be SKUs per se. We're just packaging ingredients. So I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question?
What's a typical menu? What does it look like?
Yeah, okay. So essentially, most meal delivery companies provide you between like 12 and 14 meal options, right? So you would, as the consumer, you'd be on the page clicking through and say, this week I want, 2 servings of chicken Alfredo, and I also want 2 servings of beef Wellington, for instance. So, but we would have about 16 different options for you to choose from, so that you can change that box up frequently, but you have those options. So they're family style meals. They're more geared toward dinner, not necessarily lunch or breakfast. So these are going to be your sit-down kind of entree meals.
And your demographic was an 80,000 millennial women. 80,000. Okay. And that
of the people who responded, we were overwhelmingly about almost 75 to 80% women between 31 and 50. And
the 12 menu options over time in terms of sourcing and scaling that within Michigan, you feel comfortable about your ability to scale?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, one of our advisors, she hadn't made the slide yet, but she is the CEO of a Michigan-based CPG company. So we were really excited about her because she's also planning to be a new investor. We have a meeting tomorrow. So she really has great footing in that Michigan market. And then with regards to everything else, we're talking about standard food delivery. So you're using like your standard US foods distribution and things like that for our proteins, our base grains and things of that nature. It's really who we're going to source the cannabis concentrates or flour from that's going to be where it's really specific to Michigan, but everything else is pretty standard to how a local restaurant would have something delivered.
Kenya, are you going to be moving to Michigan to make sure that all this stuff comes off as you want it to?
Yes, sir, absolutely. The 2 municipalities that I've been vetting are actually right across the border from my mom, who lives in South Bend, Indiana. So I absolutely will be moving for at minimum the 12 months it takes to get us fully licensed and set up.
Got it. And how much money have you raised already?
We have not. Like I said, we just started this literally last month. We're about 6 weeks into this, from coming from conception to pitching at M4MM to being here and getting. So we were very, very early.
And the other Moffat, is that your brother or your husband? The other
Moffat, that's my husband. It's my husband.
I know it may be an illegal question if you were a candidate and I was a recruiter, which I am, but people are interested in knowing whether they're investing in a husband and wife team, or which doesn't mean that it doesn't work, but they just
well, he's been stuck with me for 19 years, married 14, so I think we're together.
Got it. That's great. All right, if you would mute yourself, we're going to switch to feedback, and this time we're going to start with Nick, and then we'll go with Andrea, Ross, F, and Jen. Nick, lead it off, please.
Well, I love your idea. It's a great idea, but then I get into like some of the metrics of it where, oh my goodness, knowing the Michigan market, this could be a good thing, but you mentioned Blue Apron and Plated and these other companies. They have to deal with all these supply chain logistic issues, like sourcing the chicken, the carrots, all the different menus, the sales, the marketing. Like, it's kind of crazy. You want to do that. That's a commercial kitchen, supply chain logistics, all tons of nonsense, inventory, changing menus, procurement. Your gold and your idea here, though, is any of the meal service kits are great. That's a ton of cannabis. Like the child safe type aspect, the accidental things, the bad press that would happen inevitably from like the savories, which we had in Colorado. But it made me think, and this is all yours, like sell the infusion with the instructions versus just, because like all the stuff and the packaging, the chicken, the beans, like all of that already happens. you focus on that cannabis, mix this packet that's actually discreet, because your thing's not super discreet. Housewife lady who kind of wants to get high, take some Xanax and like vacuum around like in the 50s or 60s type lady. She might not want people to know that she's doing that. So a little bit more discreet, but and then like sweet versus savory with all of our edibles companies back in the day. It's kind of annoying because you think breakfast, lunch, dinner, people have different preferences. So like mix this with even simple, like this box of mac and cheese from like Whole Foods, like from an organic side, or like mix it with this type of thing. And it would, those infusions would do that. And you'd have that dosing based on like the infusions and the instructions. And you don't have to cut any celery or deal with like any carrots spoiling or any of that crap. But I like the idea of it. That's just a ton of cannabis, not super discreet. But that idea, it's yours, run with it however you'd like. And if you need help, I can get you into Michigan a lot faster than 12 months of like starting something new in licensing. Michigan is jump in. It's, if you know the right municipalities, you can go faster.
Kina, that's great advice and a great offer. Okay, and Andrea, please.
Sure. So one thing, coming back to the low dose amount, I think we know low dose can mean a lot of different things. So when I think low dose, I don't think 10 milligrams. I think maybe 5. So just to put it out there, like for someone who's new to cannabis, you know, the same way, you know, you don't want someone to have that one edibles experience where all of a sudden they think something's low and they have that experience, it ruins it from them. And then it's so hard to get them back to the table. So maybe you can, you know, if you're going to keep it to that amount so people get the bang for their buck, you know, try to find some way that that can get divvied up over the meal or something. I like your concept so much. I just wouldn't want someone to get too high their first time out and then be a loss to you. And then the other thing I would just think about is with all of the pieces you want to bring together, and with the caveat that I don't understand the Michigan market, I deal with, you know, depots in California, but you might want to offload the D2C component so you can really, you know, lean into the marketing and focus on all of that and getting everything out there, maybe just to take something off of your plate as you get going. And then the other thing, I'm used to people always tearing apart my TAM and my SAM. So the one thing I just would think about with your SAM is you're highlighting the edibles consumer, but there is going to be, you know, not every edibles consumer is going to want to cook also. So you might just want to think about that moving forward. Like, are those all people that are going to buy a meal, or what is the cross section of those folks? But I thought you had a great pitch. I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Cool. Ross?
I think I love the space for you. I think your timing is awesome. I think you bring a certain tenacity, intellect, and obviously experience to the table that it makes you kind of uniquely qualified, you know, to approach this space. I am concerned about, you know, supply chain issues with small packaging, especially starting up and being able to scale and reduce the cost over time. I saw $800,000 marketing figure in your pie chart, but I didn't quite understand how it translated into your financials. But again, maybe that's just my inability. But thank you for doing that. But I wanted to kind of understand your marketing budget a little bit more. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's I'm very, very, you know, happy about your approach to this.
Thanks, Ross. Eph?
Yeah, so I'm really excited for a lot of reasons on what you're doing, you know, and they're very different reasons for excitement. I think, you know, the first reason is, you know, the meal kit space is something that I've been involved in from food tech for a long time. My friends run Thrive, or that my investment friends are on the board of Thrive Market, Hello Direct, Blue Apron. That's a really tough business, and there's some important lessons I think you can take from that, having been out there for 10 or 15 years already. Number one, you don't start in states like Michigan under any circumstances. There are probably 3 metro regions in the entire United States that make sense to start in because of the socioeconomics and the ability to make the purchases and get to the people. I would even boil that down to really only 2 major metro areas in the entire United States where this matters. That would be the San Francisco Bay Area or the greater Los Angeles area. The rationale behind that is the price and the quality of the produce that is readily available at a low supply chain cost is a fraction of anywhere else in the world, number one. Number two, you've even got scratch indent, you know, materials, you know, there's recycled foods, all kinds of things that can add another layer to that. Beyond that, the California market is far more sophisticated on a cannabis side. So, infused virgin olive oil is, compelling to a California that probably also went out and bought $30, virgin olive oil that wasn't infused, right? The fact that their time is more valuable than boiling their weed and making their own infusions is a lot more meaningful. So the first thing I would do is think about moving to another market. I would probably pick Los Angeles. That's turning out to be the brand market. There are a bunch of different, food package groups there. It's a very easy way to play. Dinner parties are prevalent. I would start there. I take Nick up on his offer as soon as you could. Don't let him reconsider because, he's a little flighty, man. He's really it has to do, once you get those IQs approaching 200, his attention span's like a small gnat, right? He's gone. He didn't even know he had this conversation earlier today. But the bottom line is this, make those moves. Your ability to source 1,000 times better cannabis, 1,000 times better materials, have a supply chain that works from you. There's a ton of equity, sort of equality stuff happening in LA. In fact, I've got, I can make an introduction, to a company that just got a distribution license in this category that can do both delivery, et cetera, in LA. Enough said.
You guys are awesome. And Jen, you got a really tough act to follow, but you'll probably have something else good to say.
I do. I'm actively scratching off my feedback because everybody else said it. So it's tough. So I think this is a really great pitch because you were super, super early. You're literally pre-seed, pre-market, pre-everything. You just got started. So I was thinking longer term, things I'd like to hear, because a lot about this is, execution. How are you going to execute and kind of having that fully formed plan? So in the back of my mind, I'm wondering, well, what are you going to infuse, and how are you going to infuse it, and who's going to do your emulsion, and who's positioned in Michigan right now to do that? Because I know a lot of folks in California, I'll echo that, like the folks at Potley who are already doing infused sriracha, olive oil, things like that. So it's is this going to be something you infuse, or are you going to, have somebody else's stuff packaged into your thing? Those were some of the questions that were kind of floating in the back of my mind. One highlight I did want to have is so many entrepreneurs are terrible about talking about themselves in their slides to show why they're the only person who can do this. And I think you did a great job by just subtly dropping that you have this book, so you're literally this expert chef and creator who already has a cult following, and you've done this stuff, but you didn't have to say it. You just put it in the slides. But when I read that, your credibility just skyrocketed with me, because I said, okay, if anybody can do this, it is you. And I feel so many people do not put that stuff in the slide because they feel it's bragging, but it's not. It's giving a track record of credibility. And instantly I saw that and I was tuned in, because I was okay, what does she have to say around food? Because anything that comes out of her mouth, I'm going to believe. So I think you're really uniquely positioned to do this, but I would definitely take the feedback from everybody else to maybe rethink where it kind of happens. And then, maybe you've even got a ghost kitchen partnership, in the loop with my G in there in the background. The last point I'll give you, though, is one thing that really stood out to me was your $10 million valuation, because I expect a company with that high of a valuation to be a lot further along, to, literally have maybe $1 million in revenue. So that's something that I think you're going to have to really defend. And I just didn't hear it in the pitch. What is the IP or the defensible, contracts or LOIs or something? What am I missing to make that valuation more realistic in my head? So just something to think about, but great pitch. Thanks.
Great advice. And I love the comment about that. That was a perfect example of a humble brag that with the book and the TV show. And the other comment I want to make, and I see this often where companies are way off on their valuations, and they're often, sometimes they're from, California or Colorado, and they're around the market. But when you're from Georgia and you're not, you come up with a figure, not that it's Georgia, it could be, Massachusetts, whatever. The answer I like to hear is on the evaluation, for you to be able to say to Keena, for you to be able to say to the panel, look, we're not sure about the valuation. We want to sit down with you, the investors. What we want to do is create a win-win for you and for us. That's what's going to happen anyway. But when you come in with a $10 million, well, it's negotiable down to 9 when it should be, let's say, 4 or 5. it hurts you. But that's going to happen in the end anyway. You know, another point is when you've got people interested in investing, you want to do diligence on them, just like they're going to do their due diligence on you. So just a couple side notes. Okay, you guys ready to vote? 1, 2, 3.
All right, I have 3 fourths and 2 threes, and that puts us at 18.
18. You got the lead so far, Kina. Congratulations.
Thanks, everyone. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sure. Great job. All right. Last presenter who's been back with us before, and we're pleased to see that he's had some progress since the last time, is Josh Otten with Social Club TV. You're muted, Josh, and then do your screen share, and then we'll be good to go.
Is everything up? You can see everything?
Yes, we can.
Awesome.
Please begin.
Yep, Ronin Content. So we create original intellectual property. We'll build niche focused connected television networks, and we monetize scalable audiences via AVOD, SVOD, e-commerce, and pay-per-view. So what's the main problem? Right now, there are no scalable channels for brands to reach cannabis consumers, and there's a lack of content that's leading to brand commoditization. Basically, cannabis brands right now are selling commodities for the most part. They're not selling brands. Cannabis consumers are demanding more premium lifestyle content geared towards their interest, and with the implementation of federal legalization, marketing and advertising investments will be qualified business expenses and will take up a larger portion of cannabis business expenses, similar to CPG and beer and wine. If you even look at Constellation Brands, for instance, which is one of the largest investors in the cannabis space, they spend $350 million in advertising. And once they start to are able to invest in advertising and marketing in the United States, that's going to be similar in the cannabis space. Our solution is Social Club TV. We launched it almost a year ago, May 2020. It's the largest cannabis and culture network in the world. On OTT, we have over 600 hours of content, and we're currently available in 150 million homes. We have exclusive content and exclusive distribution deals. So that means similar to a Netflix or any other sort of Pluto TV, you're going to get content available only here. So we are exclusive with the Emerald Cup for this year. We produced over 30 hours of content. We're also exclusive for them next year. We just closed a deal with Psych 21, one of the largest psychedelic conferences. We have content with iSears, Lucid News. We do original shows like Hi Her Story and Field Trip with Jordan Conway. And we've already advertised with some of the largest brands in the world, including non-cannabis brands. So we had 1,500 mainstream brands advertised on our platform through our DSPs and partnerships in the last year. That included White Claw, Under Armour, Verizon. So we produce original content. We're not just licensing it. And our content production is actually underwritten by brands. So we integrate into it. Most of the content we produce is not only underwritten, but it's profitable by the time we're done. We license content to some of the biggest names in the world in cannabis, Jim Belushi, DNA, Burner, and Be Real. And we also distribute content. So right now we're available in close to 20 different networks. So some of them are owned and operated. So you would go onto your iPhone or Android or PlayStation 4 and 5 or Samsung and look for Social Club TV. And in other cases, we would be carried on a partnership network like Pluto and Rad. We also market content. So right now, brands are paying us. You can see Dreamy Delivery on the platform. They're actually paying to not just advertise through a pre, mid, and post roll, but we're giving them branded playlists. So they're going to be able to actually advertise, which Tubi, interestingly enough, 2 days ago just did with East. Tubi was bought by Fox, I believe, for about $500 million. So this is going to be a big push for us to be able to allow brands to advertise on the network beyond just traditional video roll. Our success. So we've got over 1.2 million in trailing revenue. We've $200,000 in top line since we last pitched you guys. We've had 300% audience growth with 10,000 new signups. And just as a quick example, what we did over the Emerald Cup week with $0 in marketing and 100% organic and earned was 2x what WeMaps did on 420, where they spent over $2 million paying Snoop Dogg, A$AP Rocky, and Mike Tyson. You can actually see their largest concurrent was 4.3 thousand, and we got over 9,000. Our management team and advisors we've been in the space in media and cannabis for over a decade. We work with Burner. We're already starting to expand into digital out of home with partnerships like APOP and Get Enlightened. We are in the process of licensing our name, the Social Club, to a downtown LA-based members-only club, which will be a consumption lounge that'll also carry our content and be a home for us to produce more content at. We're launching the world's first psychedelic network called Alter TV as part of our platform. We have a 3,000 square foot soundstage. We've got over $250,000 worth of studio gear, and we're raising $2 million at an $8 million pre-money valuation. We bootstrapped everything to date. We do not have a single investor on our cap table. I probably don't have time to go over to our AVOD revenue.
You're actually out of time. You covered all the key points. So your 4 minutes are up. So we'll switch to Q&A now.
Sure. Thank you.
Great. Yes, F, please.
Right. So you were on here before, correct, Joshua?
Yeah.
Great. And one of the things that we had talked about last time was, your reach in the dispensary, kind of the in retail market. Can you speak to that, how that's grown? Number one. Number two, I always have 3 questions, man. So just wait. Number 2, you came to us with the same story about raising the round in the same space about 100 days ago, right? Thought that was closed. Would like to understand why. And then the third piece of the story is, just give me what the May revenue trajectory looks like. Just May, a month from now, what it looks like.
Okay. So your first question was in dispensary and out of home. So
any out of home, any cannabis retail environment.
Yeah. Okay. So we closed a deal with Get Enlightened, which is the second largest out of California, and we have a deal with APOP. So they're going to be
just numbers. Just how many locations?
1,000. So we'll be in 1,000 locations by the end of Q2.
Great. Yep. Okay, good. New York. How many? What do you have going in New York?
Nothing, because we don't have any relationships.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, great. Next question.
Okay, the next question. Since we last spoke, we did a deal with the Emerald Cup, and we focused on closing $200,000 in revenue instead of trying to continue to raise money, because I can only do one or the other operating the company. So we basically paused our fundraise, and we just finished with the Emerald Cup a week and a half ago, and so now we're going out, and we're probably going to do a Reg CF campaign. So that's why we're back, and that's what my focus between now and basically end of June is going to be the raise.
Last question. May. What is May revenue?
100,000.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Cool. Great. All right. Other questions? Yes, Andrea.
Every time with the mute. So could you go back to the slide about how people are accessing Social Club, that when you had the circle with, I forget which slide it was. I just want to understand how you're getting to the various.
Talk us through it, because you won't be able to bring it back up.
Okay, yeah. You could just talk. Yeah. How am I finding you?
So we have so we have our owned and operated network. So if you are going to open an Apple TV or a Roku or iPhone or Android TV, or basically all of the platforms Samsung ties in that allows you to have a OTT app as an install, you would just put in Social Club TV and we would be there. That's our primary focus. And then our secondary focus is syndication. So syndication is deals with Viacom, Pluto TV. We're currently in talks with Comcast, TCL, Vizio. So there's a bunch of other networks out there that would then carry our linear stream and some of our on-demand content.
Okay. Other questions? Ross, please.
Tell me what your ask is and valuation.
Yeah, so we're raising $2 million at an $8 million pre-money. We're open to negotiations with a lead investor.
What kind of burn rate are you looking at now?
We're probably what we'd like to be at, or what we're at. We're at about 60, and we'd like to be at closer to 85 post-investment, with the additional burn going into marketing and customer acquisition.
Thank you.
Other questions? If not, we will switch to feedback. And Ross, oh yeah, go ahead, Andrea, please.
I have another one. What's kind of your ideal customer? Are you looking to target just specific sectors of the cannabis space?
Yeah, so we're like MTV for cannabis, or if you look at Tastemade's a great example of our model. So Tastemade launched with a very specific focus on millennials who cared about food and travel. They ended up with a pretty large investment, I think about 35 million from Amazon, who understood that content really drove purchase intent. So we're looking for a similar sort of culture and lifestyle. If you actually look at our content at about 700 hours, I would say probably 150 is hardcore cannabis, with the rest of it being everything from Ancient Aliens, to music, to Burning Man, to education, to we have a whole bunch of things on regenerative farming and green living. And we're finding that a lot of that content and, no shock, similar to everything else, reality shows do really well. So we're looking to get much more adjacent versus just heavy stoner content. And that's helping us get a lot of distribution and attract mainstream advertisers. And in fact, it's actually helped keeping retention and keeping average view times up.
Josh, how much money do you think you're going to need after the 2 million, and when might that be?
So, well, there's a couple different ways we're looking at it. We want to get aggressive in e-commerce and affiliate. We want to increase our ARPU beyond just sort of your typical, I'm staring at a screen watching ads or SVOD. And the part of that would include, we're looking at actually creating a sort of virtual currency. So we actually reward you for engaging in content or watching certain brands or ads, and then spending that money with partners we don't ever want to deliver or get licensed. So I think that based on the 2 million, we will be revenue positive. I mean, we've been in operational for over a year, and we're grinding out of revenue positive month over month, but it's like this. So our next raise would really be focused on acquisitions and potentially some additional opportunities to generate more revenue.
Thank you. Okay, if you will mute yourself, we're going to switch to feedback for the last time. We're going to start with Ross this time, then F, Jen, Nick, Andrea will be last. Ross, you're up first.
So Joshua, thank you so much for your presentation. I love what you're doing. I love the space. Again, I think it's got great legs, and I think that there's a very steep trajectory for you. But I think it's going to take a lot of money, as you know. So I hope you have the team in place. And I'm wondering if and I did watch one of your ECG shows on the other day, and love the content. So wondering if there's an opportunity down the line for kind of a more of a mainstream movie, prime time kind of content versus only the cannabis or cannabis related, kind of thing. So anyway, thank you.
Thanks, Ross. And by way of full disclosure, we are talking to Josh about helping him build his team shortly. F, you're up next, please.
Yeah, Josh, I like what you're doing. Media is my background. I grew a company to taking it public in the category. Built a ton of, out of home is what you call it today. Back then, we call it closed broadcast networks. What we used to spend to what you can get away with today is mind blowing. It's like, you add a decimation point, it's literally a tenth of a cent to every $100 we spent to deliver your content. So I think it's really, really exciting what you're doing. I think you've got, you've just really got to zero in on, what I would call the corporate model. I mean, there are entire networks based on delivering content into dentist office, okay, and doctor's office and surgery centers. And there are a ton of private equity backed companies that buy all those guys. So, I think you can go there. And then to Ross's point, I'm glad he sees the value here. You can decide what other directions you want to go in. But the fundamental, raising money, building content-driven movies or other types of things like that, or pitching shows to Hollywood or any of those other models are very different and very, those are what we investors call, special purpose vehicles versus the underlying corporation, right? And if you think about it, my friend runs a company that does nothing but does what you do for car dealerships, okay? They're a $1 billion company. This is something I think you'd really get into. And I think you really need to look at this corporate monetization, per eyeball metrics. I think you need to evolve the business model so that you're eking more dollars out of every piece of content, and then a broader partnership structure so you can tie in the digital to the visuals you're delivering.
Thanks, F. Jen?
Hi. So one thing I was kind of looking for, because this is not my space and I need to wrap my head around it a bit more, was kind of that revenue breakdown of where the different drivers are inside of the business. I also wanted to understand the brand breakdown a bit more, like, who exactly is kind of trying to get their content, and then that audience breakdown of like, who are they and where exactly are they watching and seeing this? Like, I want to know, is it mostly men? Is it mostly women? Is it millennials? Where's that breakdown? Because I feel like there are some core groups people are trying to target, and I'd love to kind of see that so I have a better idea of kind of exactly who you guys are going after from both an audience and a brand perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Nick?
Seldomly am I man, I speak a lot of languages, but like half of what you said was like different language, but like said, you can tell by your demeanor, like, you know what you're talking about. I love when there's somebody in a company who's like that. I'm like, I have no idea what he's talking about. Like ECGs, ERPUs. I'm like, okay, so this is good. This person knows what this space is, knows what they're doing. It's completely out of my normal realm. I do play in ancillary, but I can tell from what you're doing, there's definitely something that's unique there that hasn't been done for a while. There's lots of ways to monetize, marketing either through that. But what was really the piece that was kind of attractive to me outside of everything else was the social club side. The social use lounge or social consumption lounges, like that just doesn't roll off the tongue. And we roll those out around the country on licensing standpoint, like through like the ones in West Hollywood or Illinois, New York's just put them on there. So that social club idea is nice. And I can't remember what it is, like the Soho or whatever, that cool, like exclusive club people are members of. It's all fancy and stuff. And don't wear a tie, but like be professional. Like people like that stuff. That's not my world so much. Been there, done that, do it. And I think your focus is really good on that. But the idea of like working with one of those WeHo social use consumption lounges, AKA rebranded social clubs, with the tech on it, influencer, like all of the brand side, that's what was really, really, because what you're doing now is awesome. It's barely begun. You obviously know it well. And what you're doing in cannabis to start certain things with the exclusive, with the Emerald Cup, but that West Hollywood side to start to launch this to where it could turn into something. I don't understand, like I said, 50 to 90% of what you said, but I know it sounds true and right. So I would trust in that based on a few of the good cannabis decisions too. So I also loved how you said you didn't have an investor in your cap table. That's always very attractive to me, because then I'm like, all right, this is good, not from a predatory standpoint, but I already heard horrible, like you're doing like a reg CF, like that's probably not a good idea. Maybe it works for some companies, but this is a unique something. And if you find somebody in that space that comes from this, like that did this niche for another industry or sector, that invested into it and did well, you're going to 4 or 8x that well in this industry. So that's who I would look for as an investor, like to do it faster and not do like a crowdfunding, because like, how are you going to explain that to so many people that are going to say yes? The person who already knows it's a yes, go to them. And it's good, but I wish I could understand it more, but it sounds super awesome.
Thank you. Andrea, please.
I love Nick's last point, because I also, like Jen and Nick, this is also not my language. And so being able to get people and again, in a reg CF, being able to get people even less familiar with this space to digest it quickly, that they're gonna invest, I think would be challenging. So my 2 cents. And then, I think this is super interesting as a retailer. I'm very well aware how limited out of home is and how critical it is for people to build their brands and have them be real brands, as you were mentioning. So I think it's going to be really interesting. And then I think, something I'd love to pull out more if we were to talk is how the different brands will be able to target those different demographics, kind of like what Jen was mentioning. And maybe, are those older demographics going to be reached, or is this more for like the 25 to 35 crowd?
Thank you. All right, we're going to vote for the last time on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I see a 5.
Right.
Wow.
I have a 5, 2 5s, 2 4s, and a 3. And that puts us at 21.
Wow, great score. All right. So we got some awards to give out. First round winner was Chuck Siegel with Flower Power with 20 points, won the 1-minute elevator pitch. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Josh with Social Club TV with 21 points. Great job. Keena came in a close second with 18, and then we had Chuck with 17 there. So great afternoon. I hope you guys enjoy this as much as I do. The enjoyment and the fun is not only giving companies a chance to pitch, but just the feedback and ideas from the panel is just wonderful stuff. 5 really smart, caring people, direct, honest. It's all good and just a true joy to see. So thank you, panel, so much. And Ross, welcome back. And so glad that Nick, you were able to join us, and Jen and Andrea for the first time. We want to have you back. And Eph, thank you so much for being quiet and not saying much. We love you all. No, it's great insight from everybody. And I love the repartee between Eph and Nick as well. So we're going to do another one of these in 5 weeks on May the 27th. And we hope you can join us. But next week, we've got another PitchForce with 10 companies that are seeking their A round. The week after that, their seed. If you're looking for great people, please let me know, whether it's in cannabis or not cannabis. Would love to talk to you about why we have been so successful the past 21 years helping early stage cannabis and non-cannabis companies grow great teams. And I particularly want to thank Adrian Chin, who runs all the events here, does a great job with all of these companies. And yes, absolutely. And I hope everybody has a good evening. And I hope you all had as much fun as I did. Thank you all.
Thank you, Max.
Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Great.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fun.